crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way.
Good morning, Bix Weir, roadrunner.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of chaga coffee. Real quick, I woke up this morning and I was like instantly thinking about the new system, what it's going to look like. And for a long time, I've been saying there'll be no deciders. No one will have the authority to decide what will be used as money. I believe in the U.S. we'll go back to our Constitution, gold and silver coin as money, redeemable on demand, potentially each individually numbered, Bitcoin type of crypto tracking system. Which, of course, got me thinking too about Reggie Middleton and his patent. He would most likely be getting a little kickoff at. There's a lot of things that the Reggie Middleton patent covers, and just so that everybody knows, here's Reggie's patent. It basically covers everything other than a traditional crypto for crypto transaction. You know, not swaps are covered under Reggie. So if you swap Bitcoin for Litecoin, or Bitcoin for US dollars, or Bitcoin for, it pretty much covers almost everything. All the DeFi world, all the Ethereum transactions are covered under Reggie's patent. If the United States wanted to throw a wrench into the crypto world, I think a good wrench, but a wrench. Even the U.S. or central bank digital currencies would be covered under the patent. So Reggie has the ability under the U.S. and Japanese patents to say, no, Mr. Central Banker, you cannot introduce a CBDC if it's it depends on what it's being used for. In addition to or replacements of dollars and things like that. There's a lot of things that would go into that. But definitely any transactions, capital transactions, would fall under the Reggie Middleton patent. So did the central bankers shoot themselves in the foot by allowing this patent to happen? Or did they even have a say over it? There is a new law that just got introduced. A U.S. Senator introduces No Digital Dollar Act to prohibit Treasury and Fed from interfering with Americans using paper currency. So we might not even need Reggie to say, hey, you can't do this, central bankers, because I own the patent on that. A U.S. Senator has introduced the No Digital Dollar Act to prohibit the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve, so both of them, so that's good, from interfering with American using paper currency if a central bank digital currency is adopted. The bill further states no central bank digital currency shall be considered legal tender under Section 165103 of Title 31 of the United States Code. No Digital Dollar Act introduced. U.S. Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma announced Thursday that he has introduced a bill titled No Digital Dollar Act to prohibit the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve from interfering with Americans using paper currency if a digital currency is adopted, and make certain individuals can maintain privacy over their transactions by using cash and coins. The bill will amend the Federal Reserve Act to prohibit the governors and the Federal Reserve System from discontinuing Federal Reserve notes if a central bank digital currency is issued, and for other purposes. Furthermore, the Secretary of Treasury may not discontinue minting and issuing coins under this section if a central bank digital currency is issued. So really great stuff there. The problem is they don't really follow the law. Under the U.S. law right now, the U.S. Mint is required to make silver eagles to satisfy demand, and they are not. They are not. So I haven't looked at the Treasury Silver Eagle numbers yet. They won't come out until Monday or Tuesday of next week. I can already tell you what it's going to be for that would be September. It's going to be 850,000 Silver Eagles were made in September. How do I know this? Bix, how do you know it's going to be 850,000 if they have to make coins to equal demand? And how do you know, Bix, that demand was only 850,000? Because it was 850,000 in August and it was 850,000 in July. That's how fraudulent they're not even hiding it, by the way. They're not even hiding it. Senator Langford explained that residents in his state have expressed to him their concern that the Treasury, quote, could phase out paper money and transition to a digital dollar. He stressed that many Oklahomans still prefer hard currency, or at least the option of hard currency. Lawmaker asked, there are still questions, cyber concerns, security risks for digital money, emphasizing there is no reason we can't continue to have paper and digital money in our nation and allow the American people to decide how to carry and spend their own money. Absolutely. Again, it gets down to no deciders. You cannot have your government deciding what's going on. So back to what I woke up and dreamt, it was a list of things that I think will change. Number one, the derivative situation. The derivative situation is already imploding. It has already destroyed all the pension funds in the UK, and it's going to get worse. And the counterparties are starting to fail, and they're bailing out all kinds of oil and gas derivatives, but it's not enough. So I said, the crash, all derivative assets go to zero because they'll just stop trading. That's the stock market, the bond market. Those are all derivative assets. The gold market, the silver market, derivative exchanges. Yes, the Dow and the NASDAQ and the NYMEX are all derivative exchanges. You don't own your certificate. And as a matter of fact, the actual owner of that certificate has just died. The owner of the mass amount, the gigantic amount of paper title, everything is put in seed and companies' names, even your house. If it's finance, goes through a mortgage-backed security, and seed and company is the ultimate beneficiary of that. In the 70s, they did a investigation, and they found out it was a certain person, one person, and then it leaked later, potentially. There's been no confirmation that it was the Queen of England. Was the owner of all assets in the world that have go through our financial system. It's like having a patent on the current financial system. Like Reggie has a patent on crypto capital transactions. The Queen had the patent, so to speak, on all other assets that have been derivatized, which is pretty much all assets. Before I go down this list, I want to make sure everybody understands what would happen if all assets went to zero that are on exchanges, zero. And off exchange. I mean, you're not going to know the price of your silver or gold, but you'll still have it. You're not going to know the price of any cryptocurrencies, but you'll still have it if it's on your own possession. If it's not in your own possession, you will lose it. But if everything does go to zero, like I believe it will very soon with the derivative meltdown, who are the winners and who are the losers? And that's the most important thing. This is why I think the Nestor and Gestra people got it so badly wrong when they're supporting that kind of system. This is on Zero Hedge, visualizing the global wealth pyramid. The level of financial inequality around the world is staggering. According to a new Credit Suisse report, 47.8% of global household wealth is in the hands of just 1.2% of the world's population. 1.2%. But see, that's wrong too, because they don't really own it. They own derivatives of it. Just keep thinking about that. But right now, about 50% of everything is owned by paper ownership, they think, or ownership to the paper that's in the seed and company name. Just 1.2% of the world's population. And those 62.5 million individuals controlling a staggering 221.7 trillion can be seen on this infographic. That's the problem. This global pyramid of wealth in the trillions of dollars is not real wealth. It's promissory notes. It is derivatives to real wealth. So if you look at this, people having over $1 million is just 1.2% of the people on the planet. $100,000 to $1 million is 627 million out of the 8 billion. I think we're at 8 billion now for the planet. And then we have 1.791, so a billion 8 people have $10,000 to $100,000, and then over 50% have less than $10,000 of wealth. Over 50%. So if you pull out the Nestor and Gestor, usually the only people you're helping is the people at the top of this pyramid. That's it. And you basically definitely wouldn't cover the 53%. But the other question is, how did they get this wealth? And remember, all this wealth is just third parties have to stay in place. The vast majority of this is paper promises, stocks, bonds, health insurance, life insurance. That's what they call wealth. And it requires third parties to stay in business, which they will not be if everything goes to zero. Like I said, we won't be functioning. But who would benefit? Everybody below this. So that would be 87% of the population would benefit from a collapse. Yes, it'll be chaotic. Don't get me wrong. But wealth would had to be redistributed. So that gets to the next point of my. I'm going to jump around today, by the way. The new deciders. For a long time, I said there will be no deciders. I think there will be new deciders. And the new deciders will do what the Fed did with the Road to Ruta documents and wishes and rainbows. They will ask the population, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And of course, there won't be anybody who can decide that for the population. So the new deciders are going to say, hey, let's just go back to our Constitution. We already got on the books that gold and silver will be money. And oh, by the way, we've been stockpiling it for over 100 years. The United States of America has been stockpiling gold and silver, making coins out of it, making it ready for this transition. People say, well, what would you go to the bank? There won't be any banks. Banks are fractionally reserved. I'll get to that. So when the system crashes, there will be no derivative trading. It will be outlawed for over 50 years. This is what I came up with this one. Absolutely. If everybody lost everything because, obviously the derivative world will be blamed for this. There will be no derivatives traded for the next 50 years. Oh, how will I hedge my farm and wheat production? You won't. How will I hedge my position in gold and silver? You won't. It will all be outlawed. Because of the pain and suffering that it caused when it got out of control. When a new system does come up, it will be transparent, meaning everybody can see every trade and everything that JP Morgan's doing will be right there. No more high-frequency trading, and decentralized. And if you're going to do that, you got to use cryptos, and if you're going to use cryptos, you got to go through Reggie Middleton. That's in Cliff's data, by the way. The U.S. government comes to Reggie Middleton and says, help us implement a new system. There'll be no fractional reserve. A fractional reserve system will be over once this happens. So no more banks create money out of thin air. Most people think the Federal Reserve creates the money or Congress writes a law to give out more money. No, the vast majority of money is created out of thin air by the banks. When you go into a bank, get a loan for your $1 million house, you give them $100,000, they lend you the $1 million. Get 10% deposit. That's how that money is. 900,000 of that money, it's not exact, but right around 900,000 of the million is created out of thin air at that moment. People don't understand it. When they understand that these banks are 10 to 1 leverage, that's great when things are going up. They're going to make 10 times as much money. But when they come down, when everybody leaves the same asset class as what we're approaching, because everybody was told to invest this much in bonds, this much in stocks, this much in Apple computer, blah, 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 blah. Everybody's doing the same thing. When they come out, it's a Dixie cup, trying to fill a Dixie cup with a fire hose, full speed. It just doesn't work. That's the collapse we're about to go through. So no fractional reserve. Money will be asset-based and not debt-based. People won't want to join the stock market because money will have value then. Are you going to take your physical gold and silver after everything's been destroyed? Are you going to take your physical gold and silver and go to a stock market that you don't trust and say, okay, here's my $100 in gold. I want to trade stocks. No, you're going to value money again. money as an asset is very valuable. Money as debt that can be created 10 to 1 out of thin air is not valuable. That's how all these bubbles got created. The money is not valuable. When the money is valuable, then you won't see this craziness, the gigantic housing booms and stock market booms and all that. Everything's going to be brought down to a different level. The money will have purchasing power. And then I got into things like flying cars. We should have been in flying cars 50 years ago. We have the technology. Well, now we kind of have flying cars a little bit with the drone technology, propeller driven, but so many hidden technologies that we are not allowed to play with. I think flying cars will be here within the next 5 years, as in normal people flying around in cars. Not the whole population. That'll take 15, 20 years. But it's happening. 15, 20 years is not that long. I'm almost 60, for Christ's sake. And so we will need money for the next, I think, 10 to 20 years. Then we'll hit a point when we don't need money. And when do you not need money? Money will still be there. It'll be very valuable, but it won't be used that much. And that's when replicators come in. Yes, just like on Star Trek. Replicators. How far is technology off from creating things out of atoms? Not very far. I mean, it kind of started with the, what are they called? The digital, the computers, the printers. You can print a house now. I've seen the machine, and the way it does it's got all these valves that pumps in cement and just goes around and around and around and around, and you're building a house. It's like on a big arm. So yeah, you can print anything. You can print a gun with the printers. It says, how far are we away from taking the atoms? We already use atoms and can put them together to create different things. It's just scaling up. And with computers, you can tell the atom just where to go exactly as you're building a cheeseburger. That's the kind of world we're moving into. Replicators, I believe, and I have heard that replicators are used around the world. And if you have a replicator, you don't need money because your food and shelter is pretty much taken care of. And how do you power your regulator? With the new energies that are coming as well. So everything is changing is what the ultimate thing in my dream was. And for a while, money will be very valuable. But with the introduction of replicators, I used to think it was 50 years off. I'm now thinking, 15 to 20 years. 15 to 20 years before we get replicators. And then it takes, time. You can replicate a replicator. But it'll take time to ramp up. So I think we're going to be in need of some kind of real money for 15 to 20 years at least. And that's kind of the bigger thought, the bigger idea is how long do human beings need money? If you have a replicator and you can, create a cheeseburger out of thin air, or a house, clothing, whatever you want, not whatever you want. It's real hard to replicate booze, by the way, is what I'm hearing because of the organic processes that need to happen. I mean, you can replicate a bottle, but the alcohol in the booze, probably at some point you should be able to do it. It might not be any good, but sorry, a little bit of a tangent there. Again, we are going through something gigantic. Even Martin Armstrong was talking to our friend Greg Hunter, and he sees chaos, massive chaos coming right in 2023. And nothing's going to get better in 2022. That should be obvious to everybody. No, I don't think we're going to have elections. And if we do have elections, I doubt there will be. But if we do, neither side will accept who won because the rigging system is so crazy off the charts. It's interesting that nobody wants to fix the election system. Democrats or the Republicans, neither of them want to fix it. They could have fixed it years ago, decades ago. They're choosing not to fix it. It just tells you how corrupt our politicians are on both sides. Don't think that one side is better than the other because they aren't. They still work for the same people. Also, as far as there's a great article on Zero Hedge about who blew up the pipeline. It's more complicated than that. I don't think it's a lot of people saying it's the U.S. because we said we were gonna, but we know it's not Putin. So who does that leave? The deep state, the controllers, the Klaus Schwabs of the world. That's the most likely entity. It's just ugly. It's going to get uglier. They open a new pipeline, not controlled by Russia. Obviously, it's the number one target for Russia now. Oh my God, it blew up. Then they can blame Russia. I don't know if Putin would do that, though. He'd probably go after U.S., those floating nuclear disasters, LNG tankers. Just keep an eye out. Stay away from the LNG plants. One of those goes up. One of the big tankers goes up. It's like 500 hydrogen bombs. So be careful. That's all I got for you this Sunday morning. Should be interesting. The Fed is actually meeting behind closed doors on Monday. They do it every once in a while, but yeah, they're meeting behind closed doors Monday. Maybe they'll have something to say afterwards. I don't know. You want to join the Road to Ruta, go to roadtoroota.com, hit subscribe today. As of today, Sunday, the 2nd, October 2nd, we are still giving away the silver Ruta coin. I don't know about tomorrow. Tomorrow, the silver market opens up again. And from everything I'm hearing on the retail side, we are almost out of silver. And the deliveries on the COMEX are almost zero for silver this month. Almost zero. I think looking at like 65 contracts or 75 contracts. When I know it's not silver delivery month, but usually there's at least 1,000 or 2,000 contracts, and it's just nothing because there's no silver there. All the inventory reports are bullshit. Those are all lies. So hang on tight. Don't forget, Bank of America has to deliver 380 million silver ounces from their derivative additions a year ago. These are all less than 1 year leases, so they're going to have to run around in the fourth quarter and find 380 million ounces of silver. Good luck, Bank of America. This is Bix Weir. I'll talk to you later.